kept blaming it on acid. They all went back inside, and Chris said that John just sat in a chair like a robot, not moving. So he was just super out of it, and they just let him chill out. Eventually, they asked, not Chris, but the group of friends who had shown up, they asked if Chris and John wanted to go out with them, but they said no. So most of them left, and it was the last time they'd ever see John Hartman alive. So Chris stayed behind, along with EJ, which is the one who was there to babysit. When the father of the kids came back, he wasn't happy that the boys were there, so he gave them cab money and asked them to leave. So a driver from King Cab vaguely remembers dropping the 3 boys off at EJ's house. They arrived at 1:12 a.m. Like, that's when he clocked them there. EJ said he asked Chris and John if they wanted to stay the night, but they said no because they didn't live far. So now it's just Chris and John left alone. Chris is the last person with him. So Chris said that the 2 left to walk home, but they shortly split up. And I want to note that he later told cops that he was really scared this night, too scared to talk to him. A lot of people think he was there when John got beat up, but he was too scared to say. He maintains that he wasn't, but a lot of people think they don't think he had anything to do with it. They just think he was there and scared into shutting up.
Maybe.
The other thing to note is that a few weeks before this happened, Chris was beat up really bad.
Oh, and you know what also may have happened? I don't know the effects that those drugs would have on you, but it could be possible he doesn't quite remember, or it's kind of a dream state, or something.
Yeah. So around 2:50 a.m., this is when someone notices a body lying half in the street, and they call 911. So if they get dropped off at EJ's at 1:12, and the boys leave soon after, no one sees John until over like an hour and a half later.
Okay. Well, that's still not like a ton of time, though.
No, it's not a ton.
They must have left and he got beat up pretty quickly when he left.
And another thing I'm going to say about Fairbanks in October, it's fucking cold, it's dark, and there's snow. We always had snow by Halloween. Not always in the beginning of October, but I think I've been keeping an eye on the weather, and they've already hit like 0. They've had negative, like, Fairbanks is cold. You never know what you're going to get.
I felt the chills from here.
And like I already said, John was taken to the hospital and died the next day. So now I want to talk about the 4 teens arrested and eventually convicted for the murder of John Hartman.
This makes me so mad.
I know. I cried while writing. I had to stop. This took me multiple nights to write because I would start writing and I was between like tears and anger.
Yeah.
So Eugene Vent, who I already mentioned, 17 at the time. 17. So was John Hartman, 15. Yeah. He was picked up by police 4 blocks away from where John's body was found, drunk. He had a blood alcohol level of 0.158.
Ooh, that's scary.
That's really high.
Yeah, that's really high.
Blackout high. And he was brought in by police at 5:30 in the morning.
No, but it was PDF month or whatever. Like, everyone was out partying.
PFD
month.
So I'm going to note before I talk about the rest of them. All 4 were arrested either that day or the next day. And I'll get more into this, but they weren't even together that night. But this is immediately where the racism against Native Alaskans starts in this case, because police got 4 Native kids and were like, clearly they did it. They were together that night, even though they weren't together. Like, they weren't arrested together. They weren't together. Police just happened to get 4 Native kids within 24 hours and were like, oh, the 4 of them together did this.
If you guys could see my eyes rolling.
Yeah. Police didn't interview him as Eugene Vent as much as they just immediately interrogated him.
Nice.
When they brought him to the jail, they immediately connected him with John Hartman for no reason, just the fact they were like, we picked you up 4 blocks away and you're drunk. Clearly you beat this white kid 4 blocks away.
But there's nothing else in town. Town is 4 blocks.
Yeah.
Like, of course you'd be 4 blocks away.
Right.
There's nowhere else to go.
But that's it. That's how this started.
Cool.
So then, fucking Detective Aaron Ring, who I mentioned earlier, already thought he was guilty. I read the entire transcript of this whole conversation, and I was gonna quote it, but it was just way too much. Yeah. I can't. I'm gonna give you the gist of it, but if you guys want to read it, you can find the transcripts at uafjournalism.com.
Okay.
They posted Eugene Vents and George Freese, and the reason those 2 are posted is because police got confessions out of the 2 of them. You can read the whole transcript. Fucking false confessions.
Yeah, false confessions are terribly tragic.
Yeah, so basically...
To children, it's...
So this is how the rundown went with Eugene. And George's was really similar, but this is how it went. Don't lie, we know you did it. And this wasn't the words, so I'm going to give you the rundown.
You're paraphrasing.
Kevin was like, nope, not me, for hours and hours and hours.
They always do it for hours. They're like, no, it really wasn't me.
Eugene was like, I wasn't there, I don't know what you're talking about.
Everyone has a breaking point.
Yeah, and the cop was like, why did you hate this white kid in the camo pants? And he's like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what you're
talking
like,
Cop,
about.
Why do you hate me?
Yeah. For hours. So then Aaron Ring tells him, essentially, your friends are going to say you were the ringleader, so you better tell us what you did, tell us what they did, pin it on them before they pin it on you. And he kept like, no, not me. And then he did the whole, like, literally said this, not in these words, but he did the whole, like, you'll get out of here if you tell us. And then he actually told fucking Eugene, we have your shoe print in the blood. We know you were there. Yeah, and I'm going to say now, zero physical evidence in this whole case. Zero.
That's something that I really go back and forth on whether I think that's okay, because police are allowed to say things like that.
Right.
Sometimes it's good that they are, and sometimes
it's
really
it's okay
not.
When it works, but it's not worth putting innocent people behind bars. Zero physical evidence. So again, poor Eugene was like, I wasn't there. Like, what are you talking about? But remember, his blood alcohol is 0.158. He's blackout drunk. So police are like, we have proof. Like, your shoe print matches 100%. So tell us. And now he's like, I guess if you have my shoe print, maybe I was there. I must have just walked through it. Like, I didn't do anything. I must have walked through.
Yeah, maybe I bumped into his body or like,
And at this point, they have the other people, the other 4 arrested. So cops are like, well, your friend Kevin is saying you did it, that you kicked him. And Eugene keeps saying, like, he literally said, you're trying to fill my head with things I didn't do.
Yeah, but that's the thing is, the minute he says, maybe I was there, they're going to be like, but you said maybe you were there. Like,
and now they're saying, well, your friends are going to say you did it. So they're like, so tell us who did it. They're like, Kevin is saying you did it. So who kicked him first?
So was it Kevin or was it you?
Right.
Or was it
exactly.
George?
So then he says, well, Kevin's saying it was you. And he goes, so who kicked him first? And he's like, Kevin, I guess, kicked him. Like, he's immediately putting it on Kevin. They literally, so they got a quote-unquote confession out of him. They had to feed him all of the information. Like, who kicked him? Who did this? Who, like, he didn't say, well, we kicked him and we did this.
He didn't even know what happened.
No, they fed him everything.
Aaron Ring is just a giant ringworm.
Yeah.
We want to get rid of.
I know. I'm getting angry. I'm sorry. I'm getting angry reading this. This case really, like, hits home.
I'm having to do a strange
pun not
yoga
even
pose.
Intended. Kevin Pease, 19 at the time, was at his mom. And okay, before I get into this, I'm just going to say, yeah, these were not perfect people. Neither was the victim. But
no, neither am I.
I can't say that I didn't drink at 15 and 16. You know, they could have done all of these things this night and it not ended like this.
I guarantee you ask every single person and they will admit that they've made a questionable decision.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and I just say that because people do shit.
Especially as teenagers.
Yeah. Aww. So Kevin, 19, was at his mom's house, and he was drunk, and his mom actually called 911 on him, saying that he was trashing her house. He fled to a friend's and was picked up by cops the next day. So that's how Kevin was arrested.
Fucking petty mom.
I know.
I mean, I get it. I don't want my house trashed. Yeah. But petty mom.
But I just mean, like, that doesn't mean he killed someone. No. But that's how they all ended up at the jail for different reasons. They weren't fucking together. No. So now you know Eugene, and this is how Kevin was arrested. So again, police just link him with Eugene, mostly because they're all natives.
Oh, yeah.
They're all not white. Yeah. And eventually the others. Ugh. So George Freese, 21 at the time, was arrested because he went to the ER the next day, like after that Saturday, with foot pain. And he told the doctors briefly that he had gotten in a drunk fight the night before, but he didn't remember, so he wanted to get his foot checked out. So the nurse had heard of John Hartman's beating, so they called 911. Because he fucking went to the ER. Do you know how many boys get in fights every day? All of them. All of you get in fights every day.
Raise your hands. We know you've done it. 2 burpees for all of you, just because.
So that's how George Freese got linked. Because he went to the ER with a hurt foot and made a brief passing mark about how he got in a fight.
Guess we can't do anything, ever.
This is infuriating. So before George, who's the third one with the hurt foot, was even at the police station, he was being told in the car that Eugene was cooperating and telling police everything George did. So George is the second one to get a false confession. So they're pounding him in the car, telling him that they have his tire tracks at the scene. And have I mentioned yet, no physical evidence. And then Marvin Roberts was arrested because of a witness, which I will get into.
Was the witness Aaron Ring? That's the only thing I can think
I hate
of.
Aaron Ring. So after the quote unquote, so George, like Eugene, was the same thing. Cops were like, they're saying you did it, so who really did it? So after the confessions, police got a search warrant for all four, like to look for evidence in their homes and cars and whatever. So they searched Marvin Roberts' car and they looked at his tire tracks and stuff. And then they found a bloody shirt at Kevin Peace's house, but nothing they collected matched at all. The blood on Kevin's shirt was Kevin's. The tracks didn't match. Neither did any fibers, zero physical evidence, nothing they pulled matches. And none of the bruises on John Hartman's body could be matched to specific footwear. So I'm going to say, let me go back to George Freese was the one who went to the ER. When he went into the ER, the cops took his boots as evidence. So even though none of the bruises could be linked, like they couldn't match them, police used George Freese's boots at trial anyways. They held up his boot next to a flat picture of a bruise and just told the jury that they matched. And I mean, like, to the point where, and I don't know how this was allowed, forensics, like, specialists, like, professionals said there's no way to match them.
Yes.
The police said they did their own testing and their own experiment, and they match. So they just random police.
That's legitimately, what's it called when you lie under oath or whatever? Like,
perjury. They definitely did.
You can't lie to a jury.
No, but they said, oh, well, no, we tested it ourselves. You're not fucking forensic professionals.
Also, yeah, if you hit something hard, it gets a bruise with any surface.
And they just held it up to, like, a picture. Like, imagine, like, a Polaroid picture and a fucking boot, and they were like, these match.
No. You know what we should do? Is we should make, like, a burn book, but just about Aaron Ring and all the other people we burn.
Yes.
And then just burn it.
Yeah. The only other evidence, and I'm doing big fucking air quotes, was witness testimony from Arlo Olson. Arlo Olson, sorry. A 20-year-old Native Alaskan who had spent the night, not that this matters, but it is relevant, he had spent the night drinking, smoking weed, and doing coke, which he admitted. He came forward and told police, and I'm going to say too, let me backtrack, Marvin Roberts, so I didn't really talk much about how he got arrested. He is the only one, like, with a solid alibi. He was at a wedding reception.
Okay.
A wedding reception. A shit ton of people saw him.
Yeah.
So, but outside this wedding reception, a couple people kind of got into a scuffle. So Arlo came forward and said that he saw those four, the teen boys who were arrested. So Arlo came forward and said that he saw those four boys beat someone else up and then get in Marvin's car and leave together. Now, if you want to learn more about this case, the Vice episode, and I just found it on YouTube. If you just go to YouTube and type Fairbanks 4, it was one of the first ones that came up, but it's the Vice one. There's actually a UAF professor. He used to work for the paper in Fairbanks, and now he's a professor. He is stuck with this case for the whole 20 years. Wow. So he took one of those little, like, you bring it across the ground, it measures feet. Oh, yeah. To where Arlo said the fight was. And October, it's dark outside early. This supposed scuffle was 550 feet. Not even a straight path, like a zigzag. 550 feet away from the wedding reception.
That's really far.
500 for someone who's drinking, smoking weed, and on coke. You saw four people in the dark in the winter from 550 feet.
Yeah, no.
On top of that, Arlo was facing charges of beating a pregnant woman. Oh, and I will say, this case later, I'm going to talk more about it, but gets picked up by the Alaska Innocence Project. And Arlo admits to them and to the professor at UAF, like, he admitted and signed a sworn statement that he told police he didn't know what he saw, that police actually kept showing him the pictures and coaching him on what to say. And he was like, I was just looking for leniency, so I said what they wanted me to say. Like, he admitted that later.
I wish more people would admit that.
Yeah.
Because I know that happens.
Oh, it takes a lot. And Arlo, and there's a blog that's one of my sources of it, just called the Fairbanks4.org. Arlo has since committed suicide. But there's this whole amazing, like, post dedicated to him because they don't, like, people get why he did what he did, and he came forward and admitted it and, like, helped them get released. But it's just crazy. And he says that Aaron Ring told him what to say. He memorized it and had to repeat it so much that he actually began to believe it.
Oh, sure.
Like, he was taken advantage of.
And how scary would that be as a young adult?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
he made some bad decisions, but also was probably very afraid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I said, Marvin Roberts actually had a clear alibi. This is where it gets this is the part that made me so angry. I'm just going to say, so Marvin Roberts had a clear alibi. Multiple people came forward and were like, yo, he was on the dance floor at the wedding, wedding reception all night. He was fucking dancing with us. The prosecutor actually told the jury, and I'm going to quote in a minute, but so this is 1997. This fucking piece of shit prosecutor told the jury in court that Marvin's alibi was nothing more than Alaska natives just lying for each other like natives do.
Like natives do.
He said, quote, "It reminded me of